Grip socks are great, but why pay up to $40 for a single pair when you can pay a lot less? Stop wasting money and get yours for just $14.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
There's an argument to be made that the Puma Ultra 1.4 is currently the best speed boot on the market, and while at $200, it is by no means cheap. When you compare it to its main competition, which retails for $250+, it's actually pretty good value for money, but not the best value for money in the speed category, because you can get something almost as good for significantly less. That option being the Puma Ultra 2.4, the first takedown model in the Ultra lineup, bearing a retail price of $130 and featuring a Matrix Pro upper, which is a slightly softer variation of what you're going to find from the top-end model that some people might actually prefer, and the sole plate end stud pattern that is directly shared with the more expensive Ultra 1.4. My point being that you're basically getting a top-end speed boot at a takedown model price. So if you're on the market for a new pair of speed boots and you want to get the best possible quality for the least amount of money, you've come to the right place and you've found the right football boots. I'm going to tell you why, including how they fit and feel in today's review. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. And if you are interested in a pair of Ultra 2.4s for yourself, you can pick them up below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. And as always, guys, if you enjoy these brutally honest reviews, please don't forget to support the video with a like, and make sure you're subscribed along with hitting that little bell notification so you don't miss out on content of all the latest football boots of 2022. So first things first, without being overly kind to Puma, and I'm not really sure if this is even criticism, the new Ultra 2.4 does replace the now outgoing Ultra 2.3, which was also incredible value for money, a top-end speed boot at a takedown model price, $130 for these as well. And as far as I can tell, aside from the new graphics that you're going to find on the 2.4, there is no physical differences between these two football boots, which basically means if you already have a pair of these, there is no reason to upgrade. And if you can find a pair of Ultra 2.3s on sale, discounted even further, then it would by far be the better value. Unless you just like the way that these look a little bit more, I'm not sure that they're worth paying closer to the retail price if you can find these on sale, which I will also link down below. The Matrix Pro upper does differ from the top-end Matrix Evo upper on the Ultra 1.4, and that you can clearly see it's not translucent. Instead, this is a textile-based material with a thin foam that kind of lines the inside, giving it a slightly softer, more comfortable feel on feet, honestly, than what you're going to find from that top-end model, which is why I think some people might actually prefer these. However, despite that little bit of extra padding, it's still very pliable and extremely thin. So in terms of touch on the ball, while it's maybe not as raw as that top-end variation, it's still very thin, and trust me, if you get stepped on, you're going to feel every bit of the opposing player's studs digging into the top of your feet. Despite being different from what you're going to find on the top-end variation, this material does not feel like something you would expect to find on a takedown model. It feels like something that would be right at home on a top-end pair of football boots. And if we go even further back in the Puma Ultra lineage, the Ultra 1.1 and 1.2 had an upper material that actually felt quite similar to this, although I would argue that this is more pliable and just moves and feels nicer on your feet. You're also going to find that the entire upper does have their Grip Control Pro texturing, which does give it this shiny finish that is actually pretty sticky on the ball. There's a little bit of additional grip that you wouldn't necessarily expect, given that the upper is mostly smooth, although there is kind of like a micro texturing to the surface that you don't so much feel on the ball. Nonetheless, that little bit of additional grip I think is something that a lot of people are going to enjoy, although ultimately a personal preference thing, in that I don't think it actually enhances performance. You get a one-piece upper construction, where of course across the top of the foot you have a premium knit material, again something that we're not used to seeing on takedown models. Usually the knit that we find on cheaper variations does tend to be quite cheap. That is not the case here. This feels every bit as high quality as the top end variations. A dual lace hole setup running all the way up the middle of the foot, allowing for plenty of adjustability, and with the laces tied tight, the upper has plenty of structure and the lockdown is quite good, where I actually feel like if there is a subtle difference compared to the 2.3 that this replaces, it's possible, and I don't know this for sure, difficult to tell even when you have both boots on feet at the same time. It does feel similar to the 1.4. They've lowered the volume in the forefoot ever so slightly, where the fit is slightly improved, basically just feeling a little bit more snug on your foot. Nonetheless, with the laces tied tight, these fit extremely well, nice and snug, no extra space on the inside, while still maintaining a level of comfort that I would actually argue is better than that of the top end model. The boots of course feature a low cut design, no surprises there. There isn't really much in the way of structure at the back, given that there is an external heel counter, so this remains pretty soft. The internal lining material is this soft microfiber material with minimal amounts of padding, but I think they got the shaping just right where the heel lockdown and overall comfort was not an issue for me at all. Also, the lining on the inside of the boots is extremely soft, again making for great comfort. And then the insole fully removable, I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It features a single layer of black foam that's pretty straightforward, and then the surface layer has this kind of soft, almost carpet-like material that is really good in terms of comfort, but also does a nice job of gripping your socks ever so slightly. I wouldn't necessarily call it a grip element, but it is a little bit different than the smooth mesh or microfiber materials that we're used to seeing. Moving to the base of the boots, the sole plate and stud pattern is exactly the same as what you're gonna find on the top end Ultra 1.4, which is pretty much unheard of in the football boot industry. I would say one of the biggest differences you're going to notice from a top end model to any takedown model is the quality of the sole plate, both in terms of materials used as well as the feel underfoot. I think that makes a big difference in the experience of the football boots, and the fact that you're getting the exact same one as the top end model, a top tier quality sole plate and stud pattern on a football boot that retails for half as much as most top end models is truly impressive from Puma. And again, it enhances the overall experience of these football boots where they don't feel like takedown models at all. Nonetheless, it's made from a plastic material that is super lightweight, flexible in all the right places, but still has that little bit of feedback that you expect from a top end speed boot sole plate. Plenty of rigidity through the midfoot and heel, and then of course their FGAG stud pattern, which I'm not a big fan of their FGAG branding in that I don't think this is a great stud pattern for use on artificial grass, but on natural grass plain surfaces, the bladed shape to the studs, the chevron studs in particular, kind of similar to what was originally introduced on the Mercurial line. A lot of brands are doing this now, provides plenty of bite when pushing off, and honestly just digs into the ground so nicely, providing very, very aggressive traction. So if that's what you're after, along with a solid but also lightweight base, that's exactly what you're getting from the Ultra 2.4. And again, it's a sole plate and stud pattern that is leaps and bounds ahead of all of its competition at the same price point. Which brings us to the weight, where of course the Ultra 2.4 is extremely lightweight. Is it as light as the top end 1.4 option? Not necessarily. And then also, how does it compare to a Nike Mercurial Vapor 14 Elite, a top end $250 football boot? Surely this is lighter than a $130 takedown model. Well, using a scale all in real time, all in the same size 9.5 US, we're about to find out. We're gonna start off with the top end Ultra 1.4, basically the lightest speed boot on the market right now. They weigh in at a ridiculous 5.6 ounces, the equivalent of 159 grams. If you want the lightest boots on the market in terms of experience, that's the one to go for. The Nike Mercurial Vapor 14 Elite, again, flagship model, probably the most popular speed boot on the market, 7.2 ounces, the equivalent of 204 grams. So quite a significant weight increase, but regardless, still a football boot that fits and feels lightweight on feet. And then of course, the $130 takedown model, Ultra 2.4, 6.6 ounces, the equivalent of 188 grams. So in comparison to the 1.4, these are an ounce lighter. They feel significantly lighter on feet, but obviously these are still super, super light, where when compared to one of the more popular speed boot options out there at $250, they are significantly lighter than a pair of Vapor 14 Elites. Again, just showing how much of an incredible value this is at 130 bucks. On feet, there is absolutely nothing about the Puma Ultra 2.4 that feels like a takedown model. Like I said, it's the same sole plate base as the top end model, which is excellent and feels excellent on feet. Super solid, no complaints there. The upper, technically not the same as the top end model, but still very premium and pretty similar to what used to be on the top end Puma Ultra. Also in a shape that wraps your foot very closely and honestly feels like something you'd get from a much more expensive pair of football boots, not to mention they are above average in terms of comfort for a pair of speed boots, especially with that soft lining that these have on the inside. As far as width is concerned, they have decent width to them to where I think these are going to be suitable for most people. I guess if compared to the top end Ultra 1.4, these definitely have a little bit of extra width and volume that more expensive model does not have. So if anything, if you really want a pair of Puma Ultras and your feet are on the wider side, you're probably gonna fit a lot better in the 2.4 than you will in the 1.4. And then as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, it's quite simple. If you're on the market for a pair of top quality speed boots while also wanting to spend the least amount of money possible, look no further than the Ultra 2.4. It has competition out there, however, none of that competition even comes close.